Todd Urosevich. I am the Regional Sales Manager for Election Systems and Software. We're the current providers of your iVotronic voting equipment.
I did a email out to the other counties to see who centrally tabulated the absentee ballots. And there are only a couple counties who do not centrally tabulate, and we're one of them. How it works now, and it works now, okay. But how it works now is the absentee ballots, an envelope goes out to the polling place with the judge of election. It contains all the absentee ballots. They have a list of people that voted absentee, and if someone comes in and wants to vote, they then take their absentee ballot, put a void, sticker on it, let them vote. At the end of the evening, they take all those absentee ballots after the long day, open them all up, mix them up so they don't know who voted for what. Then they have to tally them on tally sheets. So for instance, this primary election, I had 4 tally sheets for the Democrats and 4 tally sheets for the Republican. They have to fill all of those out because they get posted outside the poll. They come back in my election folder. One goes to the majority, and there's another envelope that it goes in. So on presidential, we get 3,000 ballots. It's time consuming for them. And then the next day, the absentees tally sheets and absentee ballots that were open come in an envelope sealed to our office that night. The next day, Joellen and I manually enter the numbers. It takes the entire day normally. Sometimes they have, the tally sheets in the wrong spot. The advantage to a scanner would be they would bring them all in. They wouldn't be opening them at the polls.
So they come in here, they go out, they come back again. When they go out, they get transferred eye to hand and tallied. Then they come in, and then you transfer them from eye to keyboard.
From the tally sheet.
From the tally sheet that was done there to keyboard, and that's the final entry. That's
right,
the final.
and we take their tally numbers. We don't recount.
Right, you just, whatever they did.
What they
there.
did.
Right.
They sign an oath that says they're,
okay.
I would presume that there could be some mistakes, but we take from the tally sheet.
During the poll, at the poll, there is proper representation that it's semi-public when it's counted, so that there's no fraud. How is that handled if we use this machine? Is it opened when we do the Friday official count?
No, well, I guess we would have to determine how to do that. We could do it that night when they bring their.
Or you could do it Friday.
Or we could do it Friday.
A computation.
We could open them up and scan them in. Well,
because there has to be some, the public needs to know that that's why you have all those people of different parties and things at the polls to vote, witness.
The parties would have the ability to have a watcher.
Would be too long, I think, Jamie, because everybody wants the numbers.
They want the numbers before.
But the parties at the polls, the parties can have watchers.
Right.
Yes, and not all of them have that.
Not all of them do.
Yeah. So they could come here.
I would say that night or the next day, that morning, have staff that are going to open those absentees and feed them in the scanner.
Right.
He has 2 different scanners here, but this particular one, you can put a stack in of every precinct, and it will read them all in. And then I would take a device and feed it in the computer, and it would download all the data. With the exception of any that might have a write-in on it, we'd have to set those aside. Still would have to manually enter some, but.
How many absentees do you?
We only had probably a couple hundred this last election. Not even that.
Oh, really?
300.
It's the presidential that.
It's a hand-fed unit, and then this is a larger scanner, auto feed, high-speed scanner we refer to it. They count the same ballots. I would think you're probably looking at maybe 1 or 2 of these if you want to automate your. Well, if you get 3,000 in a presidential, unless things change, you're probably more than capable of handling with a couple of these. The prices are not that extravagant. They're around $4,000 a unit for the unit you're looking at here, and this is around $33,000. They are reconditioned products at this point. These are the products that coexist with your iVotronic touchscreen machines. We have a newer product line for both of these that are in Harrisburg for certification, but I don't see you're not on the verge of moving away from the iVotronics. So these would be the products that are compatible with the suite of software that you have currently.
While he's doing that, Lori, what do you know of how other counties do deal with what Mr. Litz was talking about? How is that dealt with? When does the scan of the ballot, the absentee ballots take place?
The couple that I talked to, they do it that night. So when the judges
Okay.
come in with their supplies, they have a table set up, and they have, your 3 poll workers, staff. They open them, and with this one, you don't have to separate them. So they would just open them and make sure there are no write-ins. If there are no write-ins, they go in this stack here, and then they start to just scan them in.
Okay.
The,
So there's a witnessing by the poll workers.
Oh, yeah, well.
They work off a memory card, so you would have 1 through 20, a good example, precincts programmed on memory card A, and then feed those through, and then memory card B would be inserted and do the rest that way.
Is there any backup?
I'm sorry?
Is there any backup? Or is it
Power
one
or-
no, your record? Is it just one single SD card or something that it goes on, or?
Right, a single
So there's no
PCMCI
backup.
card.
Well, we have all the
Well,
ballots.
the ballots, so,
We'd have all the ballots.
yeah. And you have a paper tape that you'll print out after you scan the documents. So there's actually 3 records. There's the paper tape, the printout, there's the ballots themselves, and then the results hosted on a PCMC. We use a zip drive here, but it's the same 3 audit trails. You have the paper result print, the ballots, and then the zip disk.
So if you find that there was something on the storage card
Right.
that corrupted or whatever,
Right.
you would just then run the ballots onto a fresh one and
Correct.
use that one instead.
That's correct.
So you'd segregate the ballots. I mean, you don't really, on this machine, you don't really, you keep Cornwall Borough from Heidelberg from.
Yes.
And it is a hand-fed unit, so now these aren't marked, so it's going to give me a query here. Whoops.
Do you need special paper, or is that something we could?
It is a type of, yes, the answer is yes. you
Okay.
do. Now, the reason it's beeping at me is I've put in a ballot with no votes on it, so it's just saying, hey, you don't have any votes. You really want to cast this ballot? And I'm going to say, yes, I do. Now this, it will actually segregate the write-ins from the rest, but again, only the write-ins where you've
Where
had
they
the.
filled in the circle.
Yeah, and I'll pass these out.
So it's like a test from high school.
Yeah, that's what it looks like.
And how much is one of
Election
those
in
sheets of
circles.
paper?
The sheets of paper themselves are 9 cents. The finished ballot is probably going to run you 25 to 35 cents, depending on your requirements. If you have color, some of your packaging requirements can, and you do stub and number in Pennsylvania, right?
And do these get printed locally?
You can.
We set this up, or ESNS sets it up, and then we print these, or?
Do we do your programming for you now?
You do our programming, but we don't have you print anything.
Yeah. You folks pass us your election data. We create the program, if you will, or the election definition as we call it. And then we're capable of creating a PDF that we can send to any printer of your choice. Or if you're probably not enough ballots to print your own to justify that, but we can actually, as I mentioned, we have equipment that allows our clients to actually print their own ballots. But you can send that to any printer.
Is there any other maintenance cost?
We have, we offer 3 different types of maintenance programs. Very original, we call them gold, silver, and bronze. Being on the gold, which is our highest level, we come in once a year and do a preventive maintenance on all your equipment, your IVOs now. The silver, we do that every other year, and then the bronze is a break fix, where if it's broke, you send it in, you pay halfway to us, and we pay the return freight.
And what are the difference in prices?
Each product is a different price. For the gold program, for the 650, it's $2,600 annually. So, for you folks with that quantity, if you were to go that route, I'd probably either recommend the silver or self-insured. We charge about $1,500 a day plus parts for our service work.
For which one? Silver, 1,500.
Well, the silver would be $1,550.